Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dia's Readings in Contemporary Poetry. My name is Megan Whitko. I'm an assistant curator here, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our very first reading of 2017. I'm also very pleased to welcome our two poets for this evening's program, Joel Lewis and Edwin Torres. Thank you both for agreeing to be a part of this series. So Readings in Contemporary Poetry is a part of the Sackler Institute at Dia, and we also want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to Levy Gorby Gallery, who provides major support for this series. Additional support is provided by public funds from New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, as well as our media sponsor, the Brooklyn Rail. And we, of course, want to thank Brooklyn Brewery for the complimentary cold beverages. And we are also deeply appreciative of the assistance from all of Dia's staff in coordinating this series, particularly Mary Catherine and Max, Francesca, and Maria. So following our first reader of the evening, we will have a 10-minute intermission before resuming, so please take advantage of that time to peruse. We have books for sale by both poets out front, as well as you're welcome get a beverage and relax. So without any further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce the curator of our series, Vincent Katz, who is going to do the introduction for our first reader of this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm excited to be starting off our 2017 series with Joel Lewis and Edwin Torres. And I'd like to note our upcoming readings, which are, the next one is March 14th, Christine Kanownick and Ron Horning. And on April 4th, we'll have Sylvia Gorelick and Cole Swenson. And finally, on May 9th, Eleni Sikelianos and Will Alexander will be reading. So come back for those, please. Joel Lewis is the author of the following poetry collections: House Rent Boogie, Vertical's Currency, Learning from New Jersey, Surrender When Leaving Coach, North River Rundown, and most recently, My Shaolin, a poem of Staten Island. He edited an anthology of contemporary New Jersey poets, as well as On the Level Every Day, the selected talks of Ted Berrigan. With his wife, Rutgers University cinema professor Sandy Flitterman Lewis, he resides in Hoboken. Joel Lewis will be recognized one day as an epic poet of daily life. He will be like Varro, about whom Quintilian wrote, "He composed a vast number of erudite works and possessed an extraordinary knowledge of the Latin language, of all antiquity, and of the history of Greece and Rome." Lewis's observations are trenchant, diligent, far-reaching, illuminated by research, and amazingly tap into details of the past without becoming either fetishistic or nostalgic. Here's a snippet from his poem North Bergen in Learning from New Jersey. Walking along Palisades Plaza, searching for the latest issue of Rolling Stone. John Mayall forms another band. My primal environment was where the buses turned around. They beat him up because he preferred Rick Wakeman over Keith Emerson. Again, like Varro, Lewis can be a satirist, but one always feels Lewis's takedowns of denizens he lived among or encounters are tempered by the warmth of human empathy. And it's not all teen gangs and mob lawyers. Lewis is one of our most sophisticated connoisseurs of jazz and other African-American art forms. And figures like Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane play decisive roles in his verse. He's also knowledgeable about visual art and makes the following clarification. Smithson gave me clues, not Ginsberg, Williams, Springsteen, Bon Jovi, or Baraka. I haven't been able to define how Lewis's mastery of rhythms is disguised beneath the persona he sets up for himself. To use another apt analogy from antiquity, a kind of modern-day Herodotus, schooled no doubt by Charles Olson to, quote, find out by personal inquiry. His latest book, My Shaolin, a poem of Staten Island, takes that borough, lacking in respect by those who do not live there, and gives it the full Lewis. As a result, we are gratified, coming away with a fuller knowledge of how they see us. And additional tidbits, such as the names of the bomb-sniffing dogs and a running series of Staten Islandisms. If you pay attention, you will also learn the etymology of skeeve. When was the last time you learned so much, so enjoyably? Prepare to be delighted and enlightened. Please welcome Joel Lewis to DIA.
Thank you, Vincent. I kind of feel like going home after that interview, that introduction. A little prelude before I'm going to be reading entirely from Mao Shaolin, except for this little piece. When Vincent invited me to read, I got a little panicked because it's February and I thought he wanted me to do something for Black History Month. You know, and jazz poems, I mean, I'm not quite sure. But actually, I've been working on, for a while now, a memoir about Amiri Baraka, who I first met in 1975 when even before I was writing poetry, brought him up to my campus, William Patterson College, to give a reading. The name of the work, well, let me read this piece, which relates to Black History Month. I used to have enormous difficulties trying to get in touch with Amiri Baraka when I was trying to contact him regarding follow-up questions and details surrounding readings that I had set up for him, and especially regarding the poems I included in my anthology of New Jersey poetry, Bluestones and Salte. Voicemails would go unanswered, and when one of the kids answered and took a message, I knew, once being that kind of kid myself, that the message would never reach its intended target or be so garbled as to be rendered useless. I found myself kvetching about this to Bob Holman, New York City Poetry's Mr. First Nighter. If you want to reach Amiri, responded Bob, call him at 1 a.m. Trust me, he won't be mad. Suddenly, in the pre-digital Caesoic, before text messages and email, my communication issues with the author of The Dead Lecturer were resolved. And being something of a tonight at noon kind of guy, I liked the idea of being able to call someone at that hour and to have a civil conversation. I called Amiri one early morning in late fall with a proposal for a reading at a private school not far from his home in Newark. Sorry, Joel, I'm all booked for February. Don't you know what we Black artists call February? I responded, Black History Month? Nah, we call it Money Month. A lot of my friends make most of their yearly income in February, flying around the country and making appearances at colleges and community centers. I see people I don't see the rest of the year as we pass each other in the airport on our ways to the next gig. I reminded Amiri about the reoccurring sketch that Chris Rock performed on Saturday Night Live. It was called The Dark Side with Nat X, featuring Rock in a dashiki and sporting an enormous afro. On a recent segment, Nat X offered up his observation on Black History Month. Isn't that nice? The man gives us February because it's the shortest month. It's also the coldest month, just in case we wanted to have a parade. Amiri laughed out loud and said, well, I'm not so big on parades, but if Black History Month lasted another 3 days, you'd see a lot of Black artists keeling over from exhaustion, including me. So, as promised or threatened, I'm going to be reading from My Shaolin. And the My Shaolin refers to the Wu-Tang Clan, who come from Staten Island, still live there and work there. And in their mythology, Staten Island is called Shaolin after the Shaolin warriors, as opposed to what white people call it, the Rock. You know, the people call it the Rock, or the island is sort of the kind of neutral. So this is My Shaolin, and it basically has two, for formalists, it's really picking the direction going from Hoboken across Manhattan and then taking the ferry, and kind of through the whole book, it kind of keeps reoccurring like Groundhog's Day in doing that. And then also including information, material, a little bit of history. There's two prose sections. One's about Edwin Markham, who was the great poet of the early 20th century, whom there's 5 streets named after, and a school and a daycare center, and also a section about Cassius Marcellus Coolidge, who is the artist who brought us Dogs Playing Poker. Lived in Staten. And for some reason, they don't acknowledge him. They kind of acknowledge everybody else except him. So I'll be reading through this, and it's so it's basically also in a way it's like I don't really see people much writing about people commuting or going to work or doing things that normal people do. So I said I'm vaguely normal in the sense that I go off and go to work every day. So this is really part of the experience. So it opens up the kind of overture, the Dream Police. If you know Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick will not go away. The pinwheel LED display at Whitehall Terminal announces their presence at St. George Theater. And why, oh why, when I can't remember my co-workers' names, do I still recall that their drummer is Bunny Carlos. So I wasted this morning thinking about Cheap Trick, a band from long past my adolescence, but recalled from days at a Sam Goody's record clerk back in the vinyl Pleistocene. I've forgotten Hebrew, Ivrit, despite 8 years in a Jewish day school, but still know the name of Rick Nielsen, their Hunts Hall look-alike guitarist. And why, oh why, I am not in touch this early morning with the sad pancake that is America. That's some sad shit, says a guy into his flip phone. Has he read my ass-faced expression and is talking me up to his brother in the Bronx? I have a sinus headache. I have a crap sandwich in my backpack that I'll eat alone in a park, except for a minion of sweat bees. I look out to Jersey side at a low sky of mass dirty clouds above the townhouses of Bayonne, and over toward Shooter's Island, a plume of smoke straight as string, as plum. Sometimes, when the ferry approaches the slips at Manhattan's Whitehall Terminal, I see the pale green walls of the adjacent Coast Guard station and imagine myself a coastie, shouting Semper Paratus, tying complicated knots, searching for smugglers, drugs, or people, rescuing drunk boaters from their no-gauge speedboats, or escorting ferries across upper New York Bay, like the crew on our starboard side is doing, the gunner casually gripping the mounted machine gun with his right hand, as his left hand clutches some variant of a breakfast sandwich. This shallow water maritime reverie gets shredded by the American conversation. 2 guys behind me, in Union windbreakers no less, argue the merits of the Whopper and the Big Mac. I thought that one was settled in a 20th century schoolyard, back when people paused between their big ideas. In the approach, a Staten Island of rising hills and vulcanized gum spots, where I'll punch in just like the ancient Clovis people did at their Arrowhead workshops, to stay aboard and dream up conceptual poetry and smile in italics. I'm wired for aphorisms, but I spend all day speaking penal code, and I'm being nudged off the boat by bomb-sniffing labs straight into this annex of the schmata universe. So the first section is called Committed to the Method. And thanks to the folks at Hanging Loose Press, the sections are separated. They managed to find dingbats. One dingbat is of a bus, one is of a boat, and one's of just a guy walking, which is, well, if you went and got the book, you'd see how this works. So I'll pause slightly between the smaller sections. I take a power nap on the hurricane deck of the ferry boat Senator John J. Markey on the trip to work. I'm having a brief and potent dream. The Poseidon Adventure era Shelley Winters is making me eat a ham and ketchup sandwich on white bread with the crust cut off. She explains she is committed to the method, and that's what happens in this scene. The extremely tenured poet scowled at me when I told her I was once a student of Allen Ginsberg. During the Q&A after her lecture on the beats, she snarled, "Did they sell KY jelly in the Naropa student store?" I felt like shouting back, "Penguin dust, and hot dogs are my children." Stephen Motika just shook his heavy metal bass player's hair and muttered that this is not a sanctioned event at Poet's House. I give a trio of female Argentinian college students subway directions to Chinatown. I tell the young English couple from Surrey staying on Central Park South to go to Sarabeth's Kitchen for breakfast. I warn that silver-haired quartet from Grand Rapids, Michigan, away from the checkered tablecloth joints of Little Italy. Only tourists go there. I'm surprised to hear myself telling them this. When I told pianist Bora Bergman at that noisy Hoboken bar in '88 how much I admired his work, he walked away and slapped on some aftershave. It had notes of bay rum. He must have used the phone number on the business card I had handed him when he called me 3 days later. "Sorry, I acted so strange. I just didn't think I played well that night." This is only the 10th time I've seen this sign on the vacant Van Duzer Street storefront, "Coming soon, upscale bar." But now a graffiti prankster has added a tickler. "We will serve fried spasm." Why do people always seem to ask me for local travel advice as we proceed along the Upper Bay? And why do I do the human Bedecker instead of just donning estrangement earbuds? It's because I decided to do teshuva on behalf of the guy who told a visiting English friend in response to a simple inquiry concerning the current time, "What do I look like, a watch?" Staten Islandism. He's a little doozy pats, from the Italian tu sei pazzo, literally translated as "you are crazy." On Staten Island, one who is doozy pats is crazy. "Money is kind of exciting, you know," said John Lee Hooker, succinctly summing up the life work of Frederick Hayek, John Maynard Keynes, Robert Reich, and every economist who's ever lived up to the present. It's all written up all the time between the changing stoplights of Herberton Avenue and in the faces of the passerbys of the now-arrived ferry boat, John F. Kennedy. This morning, I woke up in the middle of a missing passport travel nightmare and was relieved to be returned back to the mediocrity of my daily life. Where can Ellis Island be? Enveloped in the morning's dog-legged fog? I bite into a farmer market's cruller to discern the true latitude of donut dough. Some support groups in Manhattan. Clutterers Anonymous. Life after Mr. Wrong. Poets Attacked in Print by Ange Malenko support group. Daydreamers Anonymous. gainfully unemployed brave artists in New York City. Eye Candy Anonymous. New York City Hoard No More meetups. Kvetchers Anonymous. The Thurston Moore, Kim Gordon Breakup Hipster Support Group. PhD'd and confused in New York City. Most of them really exist. Here comes the boat. It's right there, slogging down food cart coffee and crushing out cools. The hawkers of Manhattan's 2 free dailies greet the latest debarking Staten Island passenger wave. The bland Metro and the barely more readable AM New York assembled the city's mayhem and printed with magnetic ink. So I'm glad I believe only what friends tell me. And like a kid before they train him to be big, I have a charter subscription to what I see and hear. Between bus ramps A and B of St. George Terminal, a bright sign and a caffeinated font announce, DQ, coming soon. The Dairy Queen of childhood, with that Little Miss Dairy Queen sign peering down at the Ridgefield Route and 1 traffic circle, clutching her aluminum version of a soft screen serve cone. Back before the gods of money abolished the seasons, all the Dairy Queens shuttered after Labor Day, and I really worried what their workers did off-season. Did they crowd aboard the fleet of equally seasonal good humor trucks to join my mind's Jode-like migration to Florida? My 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Hochstein, never did explain the concept of seasonal employment to us. Staten Islandism, 12. But at the end of the sentence. Example, I love that new haircut you got, but. Usually said with hesitation prior to the but. In this context, but adds emphasis instead of its usual function, which is to indicate some sort of exception. The statement, I love your new haircut, but, does not indicate that something is wrong with the haircut, but rather the speaker really likes it. The Boston Marathon bombing moves the security alert indicator from worrisome yellow to holy shit red, which dominoes into a kennel's worth of bomb-sniffing dogs and extra cops in serious vests, some of whom I worked with at the old truancy center. Victim advocate, says Officer Belzer, whose politics could be summarized as Ayn Rand in a bad mood. That's tough work, helping those people. The security-delayed ferry boat Spirit of America is ready for passengers, and we're herded through a rarely used corridor. So I see an advertisement for the Polish and Slavic Federal Credit Union, which fuses to my recollection of an ad I saw above the exit door of this morning's Our Local. Your hard-to-pronounce last name can finally stop haunting you, with this thin rationale of practicality over sloth for seamless.com. Order food online and stop repeating yourself. That ad could have solved my Vowley dilemma, as I was born Joel Lishitsky in Brooklyn, but got flipped to Joel Lewis 6 months later on the day my father was naturalized, a funny expression, naturalized, when what he was doing was hiding. Should I march over to Highland Boulevard and proudly open an account in my reclaimed family name? I've been told my maternal grandparents spoke both Polish and Yiddish at home. My father, an Auschwitz survivor and bitter over the shitty behavior of the Catholic Poles, claimed that he had forgotten Polish, looking befuddled when fellow survivors shifted the language wheel from Yiddish to Slavic. When my dad had a heart attack and Medicare wouldn't cover a nurse, my parents hired the Polish housekeeper who worked for their friends. She was paid the wages of the undocumented, and my parents promised the friends not to pay more than the going local wage, so they compensated with cab fare, big tips, and hand-me-down clothes. My father's language portfolio magically expanded as he chatted amiably in Polish with the young housekeeper and welcomed her company when my mom went off to work. And if I had more sentimentality stored in my Scrivener's kit bag, I could knead a story out of this for the Sun magazine. I even thought of creating a heteronym named Joseph Leshitsky, a darker, less St. Mark's version of me, stripped of all regional reference, but then worried that this Middle European stand-in might get published more than Jerkstore me. So I threw that idea back into the brain pantry with my other unhatched plans. Staten Islandism 15, ZIT. Andrew Poggi, a math professor at the College of Staten Island, recalled that among his juvenile delinquent friends in the Bay Terrace and Oakwood neighborhoods, a popular pastime circa 1980 was something called a zit. It entailed placing a shipping cart on the third rail of the Staten Island Railway as the train approached. Zit was the sound the cart made as the current normally used to move a 6-car train at 35 miles an hour passed through the cart's thin metal frame. "It'd light the whole sky for a moment," Professor Poggi recalled wistfully, "just this huge bolt of lightning. You could see it all the way from Dongan Hills to Eltingville. Afterwards, the car just turned to a molten mass." The Kennedy has arrived at Slip 2, and the stream of debarking passengers seem an outtake from Reggio's Concogne Squazzi, that purposeful moving mob striving out to another day of alienated labor. And there's always some Stakhanovite worker in training who sprints ahead of the pack. Is he late, or is he just that eager to start his workday, and that he is always a he, the trailing line of women coming ashore toting multiple bags and a Marimekko line of ballet? Names of the bomb-sniffing dogs. Handler. "Excuse me, sir, may I check your backpack?" Me. "Sure." I place my bag on the floor. Dog sniffs, walks away. No bomb. Handler. "Thank you, sir." Me. "What is the name of your dog?" Handler. "Cece." Me. "Is that Cece or CC?" Handler. "Doesn't matter to the dog, he's illiterate." An email notification arrives during work hours. Those mysterious mechanical difficulties have put the boats on a limited schedule. During the evening rush hour, my 5:10 awaits me nonetheless, except that it's a Lilliputian John A. Noble, part of the 2-boat overnight fleet. The Noble honors Staten Island's indefatigable maritime painter with prints of his etchings of the working harbor decorating the ship. The compactness of the Noble makes it feel more like a real boat and less like the bus atmosphere of the full-size ferries. You feel the harbor below you, and the boat is at eye level with the passing Brooklyn shore. Tonight, off to Poet's House, a Belladonna collective reading. Staten Islandism 4. Mint. In addition to the garden herb or the candy, it also refers to anything very desirable. Example, "That car is mint," or "That car is minted out." Domestic violence event tonight, so take my time. It's not people beating each other up. It's what I do. Domestic violence event tonight. I just thought about that, tonight. So take my time getting to Whitehall Terminal. I stop to help a German couple find Battery Park. Stop at the Starbucks, State and Pearl, order up a grande veranda, especially made with their $10,000 Clover brewer. The 8:30 ferry is the lawyer boat for those too well-dressed to be reverse commuters, lugging files on wheels for the 9:30, more likely 10 a.m. calendar calls over at the Civil, Supreme, and Family Courts opposite St. George Terminal. Later in the evening, I worked the sign-in desk at the annual Crime Victims Vigil held at the Big General Hospital in West Brighton. Tough night, auditorium filled with families of the murdered and survivors of domestic violence. A small wonder, getting a lift back to the ferry, along with Hannah, Dynamo social worker for Staten Island Legal Services. We make the 8:30 p.m. boat with seconds to go, and for the first time in months, I have someone to ride the boat with and talk shop, a break from the usual scribbling or backgammon on iPad. Names of the bomb-sniffing dogs. Jimmy. Plenty of time to make the 8 a.m. I board the lone elevator. 2 men get on behind me with the tattooed older white guy asking us both, "When will they fix the escalator? It's been 6 months since Sandy." I summon my inner social worker. It takes so long because the Department of Transportation has to follow city rules and take bids from companies to replace all the escalators. Bullshit. The man spits out, wrinkling his fruit leather face. They built the Empire State Building in 18 months. Staten Islism 14, now that you've been getting acclimated to the island, I'll see what people know. Go where you gotta go. Okay. Any takers? Go see where you gotta go. Take a hike. The Staten Island way of saying it. 2 indicators that this was written in 2013. Ed Flanagan, the burly 57-year-old owner of the Eagle Bar, is a sort of tough Rockaway resident who has never used the word stoked in a sentence. That's from WNYC. And from the reliable AM New York, he's one of those end-of-the-world guys, said Jimmy Hall, a freshman, referring to the suspect's supposed interest in zombie apocalypse-style fiction and media. I talked to him during first period. He's by my locker. He's a shady kid, but I never thought he'd make bombs. The bomb-sniffing dogs are sleeping side by side. Whitehall Terminal filling up with sunshine. Woman next to me in the elevator hums along to Earbud Gospel. The 7:45 a.m. boat empties, passengers walking downstairs underneath the king-size Patria Mia American flag. All the days in the world don't add up to opera, says a garbadine-suited man to his pal in the IBEW poplin jacket across from the pizza place counter. The margarita stand is setting up. This morning seems a remake, but with better data. Thank you.
Edwin Torres was born in New York City. He came to poetry through performance art in the East Village in the early 1990s. His books include The All-Union Day of the Shock Worker, The Popodology of an Ambient Language, Yes Thing, No Thing, In the Function of External Circumstances, and Ameroscopia, published by University of Arizona Press in 2014. This year, Torres will serve as a fellow in the Center for Programs in Contemporary Writing at the University of Pennsylvania. He is a member of the electro-lingo band Soundhouse and lives in Beacon, New York with his wife and son. Edwin Torres takes a global, or perhaps universal, at least galactic view of poetry. And not just a view, he jumps in feet or head first, depending on the situation, with intense dedication to the visual, oral, performative, anthropophagic, and modernist presentations in his work. A poem from his 2004 collection begins, "May I matter and dislike the every way of am. May I make a matter into every way I am. May I like this and want to figure out this role I am fired by." Here, language stammers into existence, finds its way, and Torres seemingly proceeds like this in different takes throughout his diverse corpus. Some pages are dazzling futurist or Dada word collages that have long dispensed with the Cartesian niceties of normal design. But on other pages, poems lie meekly, skinnily waiting for understanding from the rapidly passing urban dweller. All of Torres' work shows an awareness of speed, a sense of humor, and the relevance of lineage in its successful vaulting across and under the modern urban skyway. Cameo cloud broached against the neck of the world. Tower of milk, smoke against the universe. Prepare for the evanescent, exciting wallop of his permanent present. Please welcome Edwin Torres.
Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you, Joel, for enlightening us as usual. Yes, I tend to go a few different directions, so I may read some titles, I may not. And let me see if I can read this. Okay. Segregation haiku. A frog family is moving into the pond. There goes the haiku. No yo-yo. He's from New York, from Puerto Rico, New York. He's a New Rican, what they call a Riqueño. Being new or trigueño, speaking new or Rican, a New York-seeking New Yorker. Is he new or a porter, a port of sherry? Sherry, sherry, puerto, puerto, yorko, yoko, coco. ¿Qué hablas? Se habla coco, noco. No city. Port of no city Rican. A Puerto Rican is called a Boricua. A Boricua? A boring what? A bore? This is boring. Into my yawner. What you saying? What new saying? The new say be the new city of York. A Yorkie, a pit, a bull, a toro. A city? No. A city Yorker uncorked. A boozer? A bozo. A new bozo. Yo soy bozo in the yo zone. See, yo soy the new yo. That's some new yo, bro. Yo Rican, see, soy no Rican. He's no Rican from Noricua. He's no you, no yo, no I. The I in I is the new no. I be some of that new no from Noricua, bro. Talisman. Who defines culture defines danger. The object that looks nothing like me is the object that will probably kill me. The blood cell, seeking the virus that looks nothing like the rest, will surround and terminate the danger. The invention is in the danger. Creativity redefines danger as creativity. Culture redefines creativity as danger. Who redefines danger redefines culture. I lose myself playing the dark for a glare at worms. Beauty devoured as dirt before losing the game. I played a game. It reminded me how I used to have fun, getting lost in what I was told was beauty. If I hadn't seen beauty with my own game, I came across this globe over these many years to search for what I was given, what I had been in the gyration of this earth, this lifetime called worm. I traveled these years, taking time to unravel my open spears, my listening at odds with my digging. I wrote a game I played, something I knew in my crackled voice. A revealing that faced me in my glass, hand-tooled by my son. I was beauty in his eyes, tall beauty for him, what he saw I had been before I found him. He found me before I knew I was to be found. Before I came across this globe, underneath the ground, a worm for my son, whose requisite beauty unearthed mine. Slippage 1. To sit with a book's silence is deeper to silence. To power a book's loudness with yours is to fuse your silence with a page, is to power your private world. To give yourself silent power is to sit with your silence weavers, your fellow deepeners, loudly with you inside. I leave my body through sound. I return when I stop. To keep moving when I sit with the spine of a book is deeper than knowing if it is still a part of me the next day. To offer the space to wake up. How we all have a bit of cave inside. A hollow tone, bringing sound to word. Without answer, I look for an alternate tone to find out what I'm missing, to word in my time, to go beyond the alternate say. Anatomically erect. Someone is selling a doll with genitals. A doll as a boy made of genitals. The idea of something called boy who is not boy but genital. Words inflict, don't they? How gentle it sounds to say, into the good night. Go off, tender boy. Go off, your complete someone made whole by the doctor saying who you are in the mom. The first time we know in the mom is when the doctor in the boy tells us who we are. I was a baby until I was a boy. I didn't know what I had or didn't have until I was told I was a gentle, gentle boy. Kare Kare in New Zealand is a beach so powerful the Maoris named it twice. Kare is the Maori word for stream. Say your idea, and be strong in the repetition of your say. Your idea hanging between mine, stream, ocean, poem, boy, too strong for one name, the ritual past. The indigenous offering blessed, to layer strength over meaning by naming it twice. In that repetition, the repeated same ignites movement. The repeated same ignites movement. First time said, then gone, just said, now gone. Second one comes along inside sound of first one. There, I just said inside first one to make room for same shell, same vibration. I just said, ignite movement, vibration, capture, carry, penny, moni, grips atoms to make more. Wave, boy and his gentle ideas. Someone had a thought to make a doll as whole as a boy, anatomical ocean, in a boy as complete as a doll, complete as a doll. The one piece, holding it all together, so you can play with the thing that makes you whole in one hand, closer to what words can do. Valentine's Day is next week. In the hills of Mohakar, a drawing of your profile, right there over the mountains, turning 3/4 as if just awake, appears the outline of your cheeks against the clouds coming towards me where I sit by the cactus and almond trees underneath. The sun, the suddenly cloudless sky, as you stand right over me, your hand towers over mine. A quick glance below, I wave hello, you wave back and continue walking across the desert, gigantically slow, across texture and terrain you step. Over entire hills, each foot disappears into the next. A mile away, you reach another mountain. You bend in a porous gesture down. With sand from the mountaintop, you wash your face. You stand up towards the sun and let your magnificent hair flow across the valley. The drawing continues to erase, redraw, and erase itself with every movement. Your arms erase themselves, then reappear with your hands shielding your eyes. Your torso erases itself, then reappears facing me. I wave good morning to you from my seat a mile away. You erase yourself and appear again and again. Waving back, you continue taking another giant step towards another mountain, the blue sky, a clear slate for every new drawing. Your hair continues through valleys and treetops. You move over more mountains, across desert, miles away I can see, right through your every drawing, into the fading atmosphere, strong legs, shoulders, your slow, long limbs, redrawing themselves. Step by step, you remain as clear to me as one insatiable stroke across an ever-expanding sky. That's for you, Elizabeth. So how to write about what we're living through right now? I'm not quite sure. I combined a few different pieces to sort of address that in some kind of way. But when you talk about it directly, it sort of disappears. And you don't want it to disappear. It sort of like stays with you. So these are bits of pieces. Because most of us are feeling humans, we are easily wrapped up in the discussion of an unfeeling human. An attack on those human principles and need to voice that concern to make sure we're not alone and that we're not wrapped up in imagination, but are indeed reflecting the world as it unfolds. In that unfolding, in that slow unwrapping of truth that we are being force-fed is where we expose our weakness and allow the shrewd, fear-based weapon to carve through sense and reason without emotion. There is no feeling to power, there is control. While the feelers are in need of allowing their feelings time to settle, the unfeelers ready another weapon. How to get into that mindset is how to lose humanity. The readying sword through the action being thrust needs to be equally untimed to match unhuman. The speed of emotion is a requisite fog that settles into our understanding, while the unemoter uses his speed as a weapon against emotion, building cut after cut before the emotion bearer has sliced through the first layer. Walking through an urban setting as a kid, you develop a defensive stance, a walk through the hardship that saves you, a focus of emotion to avoid the trigger into external action while readying your internal attack mode. You become a walking war machine through the neighborhood you live in, the world you're presented, a walking time bomb when your layers are given exactly 0 time to react. How to understand the mind of a serial conscious robber is to walk a thievery of infant belonging. Unrequited control is the game set root by having toys taken away. How do you work with ugly fear? Is there another kind? Blue wheel rondo. I let my blue wheels lift life. Come down the mountain, come down the mountain. I let my blue wheels gift light. Turn down the mouth, turn down the mouth. I gave my blue wheels the gift of sight. Let down the hum, let down the hum. I gave my blue wheels the lift of night. Lay low, lay lower, lay lowest and low. I saved my blue wheels a game of rain. Come run the rounding, come run the rounding. I thought my blue wheels would want what I want, what I want, what I want, what I want, what I want. I gave my blue wheels a gift of life. Turn, run the byway, turn, run the byway. I let my blue wheels assist strife. Stay down, stay down. I made my blue wheels ashamed by shouting, run, 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 run. I made my blue wheels ashamed. I set my blue wheels to still and jet, come here, come here. I felt my blue wheels kick, kick, not yet, yet, not yet. Yet I let my blue wheels hate. We were always late. We were always late. I gave my blue wheels a cradle to raid. Now spill the mouth. Now spill the mouth. I left my blue wheels a turn to rule. Go mule the bed. Go mule the bed. I closed my blue wheels, my faster. Time the timer. Don't time the timer. I backed my blue wheels a turn of tirades. Ups, a daisy. Ups, a daisy. I rolled my blue wheels the run they wanted. Let down your money, man. Let it down. I set my blue wheels would rise, wrong. I was wrong. I thought my blue wheels could save the ocean. Metal. I gave my blue wheels the rest they needed. Now spill the rounding. Now run the mouth. I told my blue wheels to wait. Break. From the edges that inspire me, to the edges that surround me, to the edges that define me, I'm a land of no horizon. From the galaxies below me, to the galaxies above me, to the families inside me, I'm a man of no horizon. I want to speak American. I want to speak my island. I want to go where I can know. I want to reach no island. How do you speak no American? How do you speak no island? I want to know where I can go. if I can speak no island. From the waters I was born in, to the borders I will die in, to the edges I imagine, I'm a man of no horizon. As I walk the open skyway, free of all I hold inside me, what I leave for those who love me in the land of no horizon. I want to preach a miracle. I want to speak no island. I want to go where I can know. I want to reach no island. I want to speak American. I want to speak my island. I want to know if I'm alone. Are you the same as I am? Little boy has nothing on. Wants to have what big boy has. Wants to flex muscles he doesn't have yet. Wants to fly away from home. Looks back after taking 2 steps. Looks at his shadow crawling up mountainside, up pyramids, up steps, back home. Little boy sees the sun casting its light and calls the sun America. America sees little boy screaming in playground and calls the boy a problem. Big boy has left home already, doesn't see America as anything, sees everything as sunshine, sees into the sunshine, gets blind from the sunshine and calls it tomorrow. Tomorrow sees big boy, removes his eyesight and calls him mine. Now big boy belongs to tomorrow, has no one today, never today. Little boy has today before tomorrow sees him playing in Central, South, and other Americas. Little boy sees tomorrow and calls tomorrow mine. If we the people were as funny as you say, then we the people would laugh at us the laughers. Let me now talk the talk set filled of the. Since I will then be obliged to walk this walk I did once, walking the walk led me nowhere. What is the deal of this walk that people say you must walk only because you have talked what they, the people, have said is talk? I never asked my talk to be called the talk. Why enshrine levitation with needless the-ing? There's too much the for the people. If we the people did all the talking, why is there no walking? Why do we the they or them the us stay happy remote folk trolls, crouched before screen, flicking entrails of America's collective people bargain? And while we're at it, as we as can be, let me now say the saying as a preface prefacing what follows implying following. If we the followers were as noisy as you say we are, although here I may be implying footings and mouthings by way of unfounded findings and all manner of thosings, then we the followers would allow us to follow to be one and the same, making us be the we you say we are. At this moment of we, the people have slept that the sleep, ate that the food, thought this the thought, shot that the shat, seen that the seen, helped that the helpless, starved that the starving, killed this the world, lest that the home, fly that the bird does butter that the fly, feather that the tar does biggie up the size, the skin, the in your in, and so on, the sewing. So, how did the get so belonging? They say my we belongs to me, and because I have talked the talk, I am now on my way to my walk, as noisy as the noisers would say I am if we, the people, could hear them. The air does not believe, but sound believes. What does not believe? Sound believes. The vox does not belong, but box belongs. What does not belong? Vox belongs. The age does not behave, but falling fades. What does not behave? Age behaves. The cloud will never clap, but thunder traps. What does not trap? Thunder traps. Shout the trapped vocalic. Shout the giant vowel. Shout the echo, shout the wave. Shout the mounted growl. Shout becoming sound, mute thunder raining down. Out the beginning coming sound, out the false becoming sound, out the heathen coming sound, tether the tempered blessed sound, out the gale becoming sound, the mixed implicit blessed sound, mute thunder raining down this giant day. Slippage 2. What is your gut telling you? The fleshed word at one with body before edge. If we were to take our own fleshed indifference and convert that to the opening we imagine to be, would we decipher the infiltrated edge? Look at the smoothness we claim as indifference, the steady sameness of our not belonging. Would that belonging become any harder by edging the flesh of our sometime arrival, our now arrival, always an edge, the cover we slip into when we slip under our heart, our openings as ratchet as our wounds, our worlds, our word. A cycle of lifetimes dedicated to time's manifestation of time in time slippage under openings, underment of marvel, where surface obtains sewage as centered obfuscation's mystery paddling the incoherent applications of my zerient fantasy. The openings cannibalize they own their own lifetime's dedications, being litmus to opening, made steadier by the realms of each station, each stop, relegated to arrival, is the stop that slips under time, reared, re-aired, repaired in scrawl by the hand that owns it. There was an owning at fire with its obelisk, a charged glow masked by ocean's surface, allowing the viewer entry by opening its front stone to flesh in its void, the ocean speaking to sea. Look at the pretty pictures my hands can do. My fingers, my hands can do. My fingers, if you look closely, I can breathe through my fingers. If you can you breathe when you look at my fingers? When you look at my pretty, can you draw my pretty the way I can, the way my fingers get tired, get exhausted when I grip this pen too tight? Tight. Don't forget the letter. The speaking of tight in a hand world is important to spell how hard its world is by saying tight, not tight. Can you see that tightness tight me in my experience, in my expressed hardness, my difficulty? The world is showing, the world is looking. When I draw a pretty tightness almost as ugly as a hand holding this tightly defined grip, did you just see right there how I, the hand claimer, capitalize what I thought was important, how I draw the most hardest world to make it pretty? Excise my forget in the age of disdain for hubris. Omnivert omnivory for such vacuous tone on my eligible sanity. Pardon sane the perv and his porosity to mail thyself on slight. When masking his jaundiced verite vaulted on the tree of like me, the open sore is a long tooth for good times. Excuse my martyred tragicomic impulse to boheme the lifestyle for a go at free. A fire the stoppage, slippage being my forte, scrawl being my tool, hardness my lingering brevity, a crafted excess, astutely male and generic. Let my age be a misnomer for the American dream shack, my uncultured persona a cliched swipe at pregnant reasoning. Let my exploned, explanatory, overheard, voyeuristic cum job splay suburbia over the ear job you call commute. Excuse me while I martyr my backyard bachelorhood into some orgasmic entrail gutted by resolve, succumb slack at life, envy. Let me catch the light again, the one from obelisk craw that came to me, came when I expected east, in guise of light, opening from a quiet state, a state of meditative search, disguised as wave, reguised as body, prone, existented, istance, tensus, tensual, tensing, sentential, sentent. What is that part of me floating in the water that I can't touch? That collection of mystery interwoven by dust and days. How far am I trying to extend this reach so I can swipe a part of my past? Just out there, surrounded by water, another island to claim, another intersection in the byways. In a field of water, an island will surface as often as its gaze. The tips of understructure invisible to the looking glass, the fractured mobility of land in the mess of its grounding. What is the open sine wave from my seat here on the train to the empty rooms and hallways of broken brick out there, on a patch of earth formed by spirits to endear the imagination, to re-involve the revolvement of intricate wordplay at the core of my personal castle? In the dungeons of a supernova where impulse is a tributary for reason, a body will rise out of its echo, invisible to the solar reflection, the sheet of glass masquerading a sky in the mess of celestial blind spots. Who can count on fingers, align the proper number of lines in a poem for permutations of obscurity to latch onto incoherent talismans out there, on the interplay of satisfaction with reversal, a dome to submerge most imperfected hearts. In the borrowed inversion of another poem is where the bone remembers the blood, the coursed enveloping that frames a sunrise out of its reflection into the woven path, the daisy chain of neuroseers that clean up the mess. Thank you. Thank you, Joel and Vincent. Thank you.